We're out enjoying a little afternoon stroll on the short but nice little hiking trail here at Lighthouse County Park. It's part of the Huron County Park system in the thumb of Michigan. We're actually way up at the tip of the thumb.
Way up here!
At the end of the thumbnail of Michigan, looking out over Lake Huron.
Should I do that over here? Just over here. Here's Lake Huron.
Yeah, Lake Huron's off to the side. And the campground we're at actually is here at the county park too. We're camping with family for the weekend and having a good time. And you actually have a pretty good view of the lake from just about any site you're in.
It's a relatively small campground, and while they do sell specific lakefront sites, yeah, pretty much every site is within sight of it. I mean, it's not directly on the water, but you're close enough that you can see the water, peek out your window, step out into the road a little bit. And so make sure you have your binoculars because you never know when you're going to see a freighter go by.
Yeah, I think it depends on who your neighbors are and how big their rig is as to whether you're going to see the lake or not. But almost every site, if you walk out to the end of the site, you can see the lake. And then it's a short walk down to see the water. No beaches or anything here. It's, well, for one thing, is Lake Huron, so it's mostly a lot of rocks. But particularly at this county park, there's a really good cliff at the end.
Yeah, I mean, they tell you to stay 10 feet back from the cliff because it does erode because of the waves. But it is probably a good 20-foot drop down into the rocks. And you'd probably not be coming back up.
The campground, as you said, is small. I don't think it's anything fancy, but it's nice. And especially if you can't get into a state park in this area, I think you should never discount county parks. Some of the counties have done a nice job. We're on a full hookup site with 50 amp. It actually has 50, 30, and 20 available, but we're enjoying 50 amp here. Full hookup, like I said. They also have electric only sites and then rustic sites.
Yep. And we should know that one of the things here at the county park is they do offer seasonal sites. And we have noticed in the full hookup area, probably about 3/4 of the sites are seasonal residents who have come here. I believe it's like Memorial Day through October 15th or thereabouts. And so they've, kind of got more permanent sites. They're here for the whole summer. But then there are obviously other sites that we're on that are just for, come and go weekends, maybe a week here and there. Now, it appears to be that only the full hookup are seasonals. None of the electric only or the rustic are. And so just keep that in mind. I did notice that you cannot put a tent on the full hookup sites. You can only have a tent or a pop-up on the electric only sites. I mean, it's a cute little park. We met some of the people here that are seasonals, and they said it's just a super quiet and really nice. And we did notice that last night, how quiet it was. I'm pretty sure we were the loudest people in the campground sitting around the fire, but they didn't seem to mind. And quiet hours actually go till 11, which I actually think is later than the state parks.
Yeah, I think most of those are 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you mentioned sitting around the fire. There is a fire ring on each site, and there's a picnic table, and the sites aren't bad in terms of size.
No, I think they're really good. They're really nice sized sites, yeah.
So, yeah, and, now that we have a 30-foot Airstream, we're noticing sites don't seem as big as they used to for some reason when we had the van. But, yeah, no, we fit in here with no problem and seem to have good room in terms of, maneuverability, being able to back in and have some space. So, yeah, I kind of liked the layout.
Pretty good camping spread, if you ask me.
Photo bomb.
We know how to do it well.
We do.
Overall, as you mentioned, it's a quiet park. There's not necessarily a lot to do here, but they do have this little hiking trail that you can take a stroll on. You can just stare out at the lake and enjoy. I'd love to sit out there and read a book and just listen to the waves a little bit. Maybe when it's a little warmer. We're end of September, early October. It's a little chilly here.
Yeah, it's nice in the sun, but yeah, you're not going to be sitting around in your, shorts and tank top necessarily. Make sure you have a jacket because today it's actually quite a bit windier than it was yesterday, and that wind coming off Lake Huron can be a bit brisk.
And this is named Lighthouse County Park because there is a lighthouse here, and it's been here since 1857. It's actually the second lighthouse. The first one was built in 1847, and this is the second one, and it has survived. It said everything Mother Nature can throw at it, including the 2 big fires that have happened in Michigan's thumb, as well as some very strong storms, one that was almost hurricane strength that came off of Lake Huron. So kudos to whoever built that lighthouse because it has stood the test of time.
Well, and it says on some of the signs that the most shipwrecks in Lake Huron are right out here in this area. That's why this lighthouse is extremely important. It was automated in 1934 and then sort of decommissioned with the lighthouse keepers shortly thereafter. So it does still light up at night. So I think it is still, still being used as somewhat of a beacon. But today you can, pay for a small fee to go up and tour the lighthouse when it is in season. And there one of the last remaining U.S. life-saving stations from the late 1800s, early 1900s is there on the grounds, and they're trying to restore that as well. So if you do get here, feel free to take the tour, drop a little money in their donation pot, just because it is really cool to have that around. Most of the ones we have visited, the life-saving stations were demolished years ago, so it is cool to have something like that still here.
Yeah, for those who aren't aware, the U.S. Life-Saving Service was then merged with another service, and that's what became the U.S. Coast Guard. So that's how we have that. But I think they said there were originally 15 buildings. This was a Class A station that had everything, and they did that because it was so remote, but they wanted to make sure that they could attract people to work here to join the service, so they made it as nice as they could. And they have a handful of things that are still here, but a couple buildings you're trying to restore. So yeah, check it out and donate if you can. They always appreciate that.
Lighthouse County Park is situated between the towns of Port Hope and Port Austin. Neither of them are very big, but they're cute little towns that you can pop into whether you need groceries, grab a bite to eat. There's a farmer's market in Port Austin that you can go to. There's places where you can rent kayaks and pontoon boats. So if you are here during the summer seasons when there's, more ability to get out in the water, there are other things to do. And then Lighthouse County Park is actually one of about a half dozen county parks in Huron County that you can visit, and some of them do have campgrounds as well, such as Stafford County Park, which is actually in Port Hope, just about 6 miles down the road, which also has a few other historic things to visit. Here at Stafford County Park, there's a couple things to see and do. It's not very big, but it's worth the drive down here if you're in the area. There is a campground, so if you can't get into Lighthouse, you can come here and camp at the Stafford County Park. Again, nice views of Lake Huron. And then you've got the Port Hope Depot, which is behind us. You can see the big red caboose over our shoulders here. And the depot is original to this area. The caboose was brought in. It's, time period appropriate. But the depot was built in around early 1900s and was used by the Pere Marquette Railroad Company. It's only open select weekends throughout the summer, so I can't guarantee if you can get in to see it, but it's at least you can kind of peek through the windows, and they said it's been restored, and you can kind of see, what a depot from the early 1900s would have looked like.
It's a nice, peaceful little area here. I mean, we're here on a Friday. It happens to be a Friday. It's pretty dead around here, but it's also late September, so there's a little bit of a chill in the air. So it's probably not as busy as you might find it during the summer, especially with it being right by the lake. I would assume it gets a little busy. And then also by the lake, there's a parking lot. You can get there if you want to pull in and have lunch, maybe. There's a boat ramp there if you want to get out onto the lake. And there is a chimney that was originally built in the mid-1800s, I want to say 1850s.
1858, I believe it said.
Yep, 1858, that's right. And that is from the lumber mill that was a big part of how this area got started and settled. And that actually ended up burning twice to the ground. Actually, everything in this area burned. And if you remember from our Sanilac Petroglyphs State Park video that we did, the big Huron County fires, there were 2 of them, and it essentially wiped out everything everybody had in this area. So that's kind of all that's left. It is all that's left from that lumber mill. Well,
and you see that around here in the area. There's only a handful of chimneys from the various mills and buildings that were here. Yeah, 1871 and 1881, 10 years apart, 2 major fires. But obviously the community's rebuilt, and so now you've got the towns of Port Hope and Port Austin that are nearby. And so, a testament to those folks way back when that said, you know what, we're not giving up. This was our home, and we're going to live and build here again. So now we have a cute little community that you can come camping in.
And I think we've covered this in a previous video, but how do we get out of here without mentioning one of your favorite ice cream places?
Oh, yes, the Grindstone Mill. It's something to that effect. It's the Grindstone anyways, yes. We'll link to that. We'll show you a little clip here of our favorite ice cream from back then, because that was amazing. I mean, the cones are gigantic.
And our ice cream tour continues. Back at Grindstone General Store.
Why use old video when you can just go get more ice cream? Delicious as always, and gigantic as always.
So whether you manage to get ice cream or not when you're in the area.
What do you mean or not? There's always ice cream.
I know, it's crazy talk. No ice cream. That's just insanity.
Ice cream's just required.
Whether you get ice cream or not, this is a nice area of Michigan to visit. We've actually been in this area before. If you recall, when we did our Michigan State Park series, we were up here.
Port Crescent State Park is just west of the city of Port Austin, and it was a town at one time until it was part of those 1871 and 1881 fires that burned. So this area has seen a lot of destruction a little bit. But Port Crescent State Park is really nice. We'll link to the video so that you can see our park tour there. That is considered a dark sky park. But this whole area is actually super dark. And this county park last night, oh my gosh, you could still see the Milky Way. You could see the International Space Station go over. The planets were out. I mean, it was just gorgeous, especially looking out over dark Lake Huron. So very, very peaceful and serene, you know, to watch the stars from.
It is a nice area. I think it's one of these things where, again, people often think about RV parks or you think about state parks, but don't forget, the counties are investing some money and they're putting together some nice campgrounds and some nice parks to enjoy. So consider looking at a county park when you're trying to settle in somewhere. In the meantime, keep on trekking.
And we'll see you out there.
We're actually like at the top of the thumbnail.
Way up here.
We're way up there, looking out over Port Huron. Port Huron. Did it again.
Lake Huron?